Hello and welcome to another episode. We're back on the Subaru Impreza. A couple of weeks ago we threw this in the marquee. So the first thing we've got to do is get it square, get it level, so we can start making some measurements, making a template to mark out exactly where the cut's going to be in the car, and then we'll get the B-pillars off. So yeah, today we're going to be leveling up the car. Cut in the floor pan of this car. Basically I'm going to do a step cut, which means it's going to be a sort of a stairs shape. So the rear part will actually be cut right at the join of this rear seat fold, and then it's going to run up the inside of the chassis leg, and then it's going to come basically straight parallel out just behind the front seat mount. So the reason to make the rear cut here is there's more folds to the panels of the vehicle, so essentially we can put a much stronger weld because we have more thickness. The cut through the chassis rail, the centre chassis rail, which is where my handle is now, the reason I cut it here is it's approximately in the middle between the front and rear arches. So all the strength that you want in the folded metal around the arches, that kind of structure if you like, the distance is spread equally, and so therefore if you're making the cut as far away from that structure as possible, then you've got a better chance of having a stronger chassis. Cut down the inside of the inner chassis rail. The easiest way to find the exact location where I want to make the cut, rather than measuring underneath and on top, it's easier just to get a 2.5mm or 3mm drill bit and just make a couple of reference points. Obviously this longitudinal cut will be, I'm not taking any width out of it, so basically it's just going to be the thickness of, it's going to be a 1mm cut down straight parallel. So I don't want too big a drill bit, otherwise I'm going to have sort of holes along the weld line. So yeah, use the smallest drill bit you can and just make, I'll probably make 3 or 4 reference points. So as you can see now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 reference marks. I've just cleaned up the metal more in line where it is. So I'll do the same on the other side now. So this is going to be the cut line, so it's going to follow that seam there, and then that's the line for the parallel. So now I have this cut line, I can accurately measure 80mm this way and have it run parallel and mark it out, so when the car's cut in half I can fine tune it exactly to 80mm, so when the car is pushed together then it would literally just be seam welded. So the reason I'm cutting the floor pan first is the sills are still on the vehicle. When I remove them, when I cut them off, the structural strength of the floor pan is going to be weakened. So the reason I'm doing this part first is I have the strength in the sills. The first major hole in the car. What I've done is I've cut, you can see the marking for the 80mm gap. I've actually just cut like a relief line a bit further in so I can get to the back wall here, so I can flush it off. Then I can mark the accurate 80mm gap I need, and then I can get to this face and make it perfect, so when the car is cut it can just butt up and then be seam welded along that edge there. So now I've marked out the final 80mm cut line, because I've just ground that back flush the upright, so yeah, I've just got to cut it out now. So now I've got the gap set out, I can go around with the calipers just checking for any inconsistency, but it's looking pretty good. I think there's just a little area there that needs bringing back slightly, but yeah, overall it's pretty much there. So we're going to have to cut the roof line on both sides, because yeah, it obviously is all connected still. The reason I've left the top on is so we can keep it nice and square. So the next job is to get under the car and cut the rest of the chassis rail. So now I've made all the cuts in the floor, I can now cut out those B-pillars and the sill section. So it's time to bring out the beast. Before I cut the B-pillars off, I made a mark on the chassis rail and measured it, so when the B-pillars are removed I remeasure it. It's exactly the same, so it was basically just to check whether the car splayed out when I took them off. So now I've removed the B-pillars, the next job is to mark out the cut for the A-pillar. vertical lines. Also did a parallel, so when the cars butted together, if those lines are in line with each other. So the only reason for making this cut precise on the top here is so the car stays square. Exactly 80mm, like I do on the bottom, and then I can butt them up. So I brought the gap to 80mm on both sides now. It's not very pretty, but it's just going to be welded up and then eventually cut off the car, so it's not too important. So the next job is actually to get the car pushed together. And as if by magic, it's pushed together. I didn't actually film it, I just quickly got help moving it, so forgot to switch the camera on there, but yeah, it all looks pretty good. It just needs to be butted up. So the first thing I do now is just clean up the joint here, and then get that line somewhere near. It's not far off actually where it's at now. And weld the top up, and then worry about squaring up the bottom. So I've just put a strap on the roof, bolt the top together. So I'm going to put a couple of tacks on here now, and I'll do the same on the other side. Before I go ahead and tack the floor pan back together, I'm just going to put a jack under the tunnel in the centre and just jack it up so the front sills are perfectly level, like the rear. So the next job to do is to basically take all the underseal off in the areas where I'm going to be welding. So it's going to be quite a monotonous job, but yeah, I probably won't film that. I'll just get on, get it done, so we can move on.